Peace and blessings. I am Brandi L Bates, and you're now listening to Power Podcasts, the Empower Hour. Happy New Year's. You can find me on Twitter at Soledad Francis and on Instagram at Brandi is winning. Of course, Brandi with an I. Also, you can find these podcasts on SoundCloud, hashtag Power Podcasts, and many of the archive talks can be found on YouTube via the I Am Brandi Bates YouTube channel. But of course, check us out on iTunes and follow, like, share, holler at me, because I don't know if it's impacting you or influencing you unless you let us know. So today we're talking about the Division I grind and the unsung heroes and all that good stuff. Starting 2019, I needed a much needed break. So that was relaxing and so very necessary. For those of you who don't know, I have a 6-month-old and they will drive you to drink. Do you hear me? So send me strength and love and light and all that wonderful stuff. But Division I, D1, NCAA division, the NCAA division, Division I, D1 it's called, is the highest level of intercollegiate athletics sanctioned by the National Collegiate Athletic Association, or NCAA, National Collegiate Athletic Association. We're talking about the United States of America in the US. Okay. Division I, for those of you who don't know, Division I schools typically have the biggest student bodies, the largest athletic budgets, and the most athletic scholarships offered and, received. More than 350 schools that field more than 6,000 teams, providing opportunities to more than 170,000 student athletes are members of the NCAA Division I. Stay with me. So all of the major sports conferences, including the SEC, the Big Ten, the Pac-12, West Coast, and the ACC are composed all of Division I or D1 schools. We're talking about college, we're talking about universities, we're talking about athletes, we're talking about performance, right? The gladiators, the warriors, the movers, the shakers, those who are in shape. Now, Ivy League institutions, they're not left out. Ivy League institutions, they are also Division I. A lot of people don't know this, but they don't offer any athletic scholarships. That's the difference. You're not, no matter how good you are, you're probably never going to get a basketball or football or baseball scholarship to Harvard or Dartmouth, right? So the Ivy League schools typically are historically, I should say, are Brown University, Columbia, Cornell, Dartmouth, Harvard, of course, the University of Penn, Princeton, and Yale. I'd also add Stanford on that. But the Division I grind is about putting your mind to something and then putting your grind to that something. You don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to be in college. You don't have to be a sports fanatic to respect and receive and adopt the Division I grind, the D1 hustle, if you will. The Division I grind, or the D1 hustle, is about living each day to its fullest at the highest of levels, mentally, physically, spiritually. We all know great athletes, great dancers, great comedians, people who are just killing it in what they do. But until you get dialed into the powers that be, and you get the publicity and the notoriety, and the world can recognize you, we don't know how great you are. But I'm saying when you adopt the Division 1 grind, the D1 hustle, you will be recognized. Your light can't help but really shine. Okay? So when you commit to getting your body right, that's part of it. Again, mentally, physically, spiritually, mind, body, soul. When you commit to getting your body right, you have to do it with the intention of getting fit like a pro. For those of you who don't know, I started running 5Ks and 10Ks a couple of years ago. I was, calling myself healthy, but I really wasn't healthy because, in all honesty, I couldn't run a mile without being winded, without being, stopping several times, without halfway dying. And it took me lacing up my shoes, getting back out there like an athlete and saying, how far can I run? How fast can I do it without dying? Right? And since then, I've moved on to training for the full marathon, half marathon, what have you. It's not even about the running itself. It's about pushing your limits. It's about getting outside of your comfort zone on purpose, right? It's about pushing your limits mentally and physically to stretch yourself, right? Because I feel like the only way to really get to where it is where you want to be, you're going to have to get outside of your comfort zone, and you're going to have to stretch yourself. And so for me, training for the marathon, the full marathon, and or the half marathon, decathlon, Ironman, what have you, is about getting outside of my comfort zone and pushing my own self-imposed limits. Because really, your limits are your own. No one puts limits on you. You put limits on yourself. So what I found is that, I went from just joining a gym to having to get on board with a personal trainer. Shout out to the body god, who is just wearing my ass out. I'll just say that. But you sometimes need to get with somebody, a coach or a trainer or a guru or a mentor, to help push you a little bit more, because most of us will stop when we get tired, or it's one thing to say you want some shit, but to actually push through and do it gets very difficult when you start hitting your wall. Okay. But the intention of getting fit like a pro, what does that mean? What does that look like? That means every facet of the physical experience, how you eat, what you eat, your physical activity. This is beyond a New Year's resolution, right? This is beyond, you want to get snatched, you want to get sexy, you want to get ripped, you want to get jacked, right? This is about getting fit like a D1 Division 1 pro athlete. Because you really got to shoot for the stars. And I think a lot of us, our flaw is that we have low ambition, or we compare our goals and ambition to those around us. So it's like, I know someone who earns 6 figures. Okay. What's wrong with wanting to earn 7 figures, 8 figures? But a lot of times we compare our progress and our heights to those who we know personally or who are in our sphere or our circumference. But it's about treating your body like the temple that it is. We lose sight of the fact that not only is your body a temple, the body is the temple. The body is a temple. The body is a temple, a tabernacle, right? Beyond that, it is an avatar. It is a vehicle. Do you follow me? Everybody doesn't get the same vehicle. And so you got to keep it fine-tuned. You got to keep it maintained. You got to keep the tires balanced and rotated. You got to keep the oil changed. You got to put good fuel into it. You got to keep the transmission in top shape. It's about not defiling it with gluttony. And I say this to say, I'm speaking to those of you, and you know who I'm talking to, who struggle with addiction, who struggle with substance abuse, who struggle with alcoholism, who struggle with painkillers. Every time you have a headache, you pop in Tylenol, you pop in ibuprofen, you every time you have an ache, you ready to go to the doctor and get a prescription, instead of getting to the heart and the core of issues. How you're eating. Are you getting enough water? Are you getting enough natural sunlight? Are you getting enough exercise? Are you getting off your ass and actually moving the temple, moving the body, moving the waters in your system? Do you realize for the first time in modern history, that obesity has become a bigger killer, a bigger threat than worldwide hunger? Full stop. Wow. More people are suffering from lifestyle disease and from obesity and too much of the wrong shit, right? Your white sugar, salt, flour, wheat gluten, all that good shit you like, right? Candy and pies and cookies and drink and, right? Global overeating, globally. This is not just the US. This is not just the UK. This is not just South Africa. Globally. And you have to be fueled by more than a lust for money, the D1 grind, the D1 hustle. It can't, because here's the thing. Don't get me wrong. Money, nice cars, nice clothes, big homes, vacations, all that shit's wonderful. Those things are epic, especially when you've never had them. But after you've tasted those basic carnal desires, nice house, nice car, great wardrobe, hair done, nails done, feet done, whatever, right? Your teeth fixed. You have to be able to feed the spirit body, because the physical is only gonna stroke your ego for a little while. You have to be able to feed the spirit body, because how many of you know 98% of you is spirit body, is invisible, invincible, unseen. You can't touch it, you can't hear it, you cannot feel it, you cannot smell it. 98% of you. You have to be fueled by a passion to serve and to help as many humans as possible. It's about living your heroic ambitions and materializing the potential you have sleeping inside of you. See, once you get your mind right, you get your body right, you get your goals and your aspirations focused and honed in and dialed in, and you pull up your focus, right? It's about legacy. It's about the trophies. It's about the awards. It's about the gold medals. It's about etching yourself into the history books. It's about changing the direction of the spin on this planet because you existed. What does that mean? Either you're prepared to do whatever it takes with your art, for the artisans and the artists, writers, poets, musicians, songwriters, singers, producers, or your craft, or something you've invented, your ideas, your mindset, your thought process, skills, gifts, abilities, talents, purpose, essence, power, something. Division 1 grind is about bringing your A game. What does your A game look like in practice? This is about learning all the tips and tricks to developing a killer work ethic and a D1 mindset, right? Understand that everything you claim you want, whether you want to get snatched, you want to get fit, you want to get ripped, you want to get jacked, you want to earn your first million this year, you want to earn your first 7 figures, you want to get debt free, right? You want to travel the world, you want to have your first child, you want to write your first book, you want to start a business, you want to get out of the rat race, you want to get married. Whatever it is you claim you want is directly connected to your work ethic and your discipline, to the principles and habits that will get you to that place. And not just that, it's about your sacrifices. What are you willing to sacrifice? Because something got to get put on the altar. Something got to get sacrificed. I always say being lazy because you don't want to get up early. You don't want to put in a little extra work. You don't feel like it. You're not ever in the mood. Being lazy will not only cost you everything that you claim you want, but it's gonna cause you to lose all the shit you've worked hard for. We put forth all this effort to get in a relationship. You court somebody, you date them, you going out to dinner, you write love poems and shit. You sending, three-page letter text messages and declaring your love. And then you get in the relationship and you just fall completely off and stop doing the shit you did in the beginning to get in that relationship. And then you wonder why you get caught slipping. You put forth a little bit of work in the beginning, and then you get comfortable and you fall back and you get lazy and you wonder why you don't have the edge that you used to have. You don't look the way you used to look. You don't make the kind of money you used to make. Everything you claim you want is directly connected to your work ethic and your discipline, to the principles and habits that will get you to that place. Everything. Full stop. Pause. It's about thinking like a top-tier athlete, a top-tier Division 1 athlete, professional. How many of you know what you do to get into the professional league is so much more demanding than what you do to go up the block and play in the middle of the street? It's about, even in business, please understand that this is a larger metaphor when I talk about Division 1 grind. This is a larger metaphor. Even in business and how you run your household, in your relationships, in your marriage, your interactions with your children and your coworkers. It's about going back to the basics and dialing into the basics. How you conduct yourself during a struggle, during a trial, during tribulations, during the hard times. You have to understand why your work matters. Because there will be times when you come up against shit and you're like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't care anyway, one way or the other. If you don't care, why should we care? If you don't value yourself, why should we value you? Why should we care? You have to understand why your gifts and talents and skills matter. It's never about finding a job or seeing how many resumes you can send out. It's beyond a numbers game. It's about honing in and dialing in to your life calling. That's what Power Podcast is about. Reminding you of why you are here. Remember the 40% rule. When your mind is telling you you're done, and I notice this when I'm in the gym. I'm like, oh, I'm tired. I'm sweating, sweat dripping down my temples. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Oh my God, I got to use the bathroom. Let me just lay down. Let me just stop. You're really only 40% done. When your mind is telling you you're done, you're really only 40% done. Because there's a reserve tank within us that we never really tap on. It's the dark matter. It's the antimatter of the soul. Understand that once you really arrive, no one gives a fuck about how you dress or your hairstyle or how ethnic your name may be. No one will care about your GPA or your major or your credit score. And I know a lot of you are cringing to hear that because your training has taught you different. To fake it till you make it, right? Listen. You have to master the art and science of zone defense against energy vampires, critics, and other miscellaneous people who really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. Understand, other movers and shakers, people who are out here making moves, totally dialed into their D1 grind, will never ever have anything negative to say to you. If anything, they'll commend you on your focus and dedication. That's like when fit people see morbidly obese people in the gym, on the treadmill, attempting to change the trajectory of their lives, right? They will always commend and big up those efforts. Somebody who's fit, they're not going to look at somebody who's obese and talk shit about them. They're not. They're like, I see you. You in here getting it. That's all that matters. You trying to change it. You've acknowledged it and you're changing it. You're working on it. And that's, you deserve respect for that. So average performers, one thing you know about average motherfuckers is they adore leisure. They always chilling. Always turning up. What are you turning up? What are you celebrating? You know, they know the hot shows. They're dialed into all the latest gossip. None of that shit matters. Who cares who's fucking who? They spending all their finest hours. They playing video games. They got that Fortnite down, right? When Pokemon Go was on, they was on top of that, right? And they're the first among all your friends to secure the latest gadget. They got the newest iPhone. They got the newest iPad. They got the latest Samsung, right? And not doing shit with their lives. I'm not saying this is not an attack. This is not a judgment. And this is not all people. I'm not saying it's all people. But this is a general characteristics. But iconic producers, Division 1 performers are vastly different, night and day. Their addiction is learning. When I found out how many hours a day Warren Buffett spends reading and Oprah Winfrey spends reading and Bill Gates, all three some of the wealthiest people in the world, the top of the 1%, right? All self-made, right? None of them inherited it or got it from a lottery or from someone dying. They worked for it. I knew then, you know what? They are onto something. They're onto something. They've tapped into something. And they're not shy about it. They'll tell you. Because the more you learn, the more you will earn. Guaranteed. And I'm not talking about academia. Please don't mistake academics, how many degrees you have on the wall, with your intellect, with like actually knowing. But iconic producers, they are investing in books. You go to their house, they got books on top of books, they got bookshelves, they're reading, they're going to conferences, they're masterminding with masters, and they're doing whatever it takes to make their tomorrows better than their todays. And that's who you really have to get around and study and surround yourself with, because iron can only sharpen iron. Sandpaper cannot sharpen iron. And when you're trying to be sharper iron, you can't be surrounded by sandpaper. You can never lose sleep or give attention to folks who aren't doing shit, right? Have never done shit and have no plans of doing shit with their lives. And I'm not talking about bums. I'm not talking about the people in your life who you know are not going anywhere. I'm talking about people who actually look, they have the look. They look like they're doing things. They walk the walk. Some of them talk the talk. They look like it, right? They're chameleons. They fit with the movers and shakers. But when it comes to what have you done? What have you produced? What have you written? Whenever I hear people who say, I'm an aspiring writer. What is an aspiring writer? Either you write or you don't write. If you write, you are a writer. If you do not write, you are not. Simple. There's no aspiring. What's stopping you? You want to write a book? What's stopping you? You want to have that book on bookshelves and available for people to purchase and read all over the world forever and ever? What's stopping you? People say, I want to earn my first million. I'm tired of struggling. I'm tired of bills. I'm just tired of having shit on my back. What's stopping you from making your first million? The conversations you are involved in on a day-to-day. What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? You can't pay attention to people who are in the stands, on the bleachers, spectators. The spectators always have shit to say. And are the main ones fat and sloppy and not doing shit. Haven't achieved anything, haven't produced anything. How are you at home watching an award show and you talking shit about the people who got nominated? As though you memorized the script or went in for an audition or ever faced any form of rejection. But these are the people you will listen to as though their opinions matter. Average performers love to talk about people, other people, never about themselves. They never talk shit about themselves, only about other people. But iconic D1, Division 1 performers, the movers, the shakers, the producers are obsessed with discussing their dreams. I love talking to somebody who's like, you know what? I'm going to do my biggest year this year. I'm going to hit so many units. I'm going to bring in so much gross income. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to go here. I'm trying to get my kids in this private school, what have you. That's how I know somebody. I know if you're a lowlife or if you're actually producing based on the substance of your conversation. What's the substance of their general conversation? What are you talking about? Are you talking about people? Are you talking about gossip? Are you talking about shit that won't matter 2 years from now? Damn sure won't matter 5 years from now. Has absolutely no effect on your progress or your bag Or are you talking about your dreams? Are you talking about your goals? Are you talking about your vision? Are you crystallizing your purpose and your larger reason, your larger why? Again, Division 1 grind, this is a larger metaphor. Have you ever noticed only the greats are known by only one name? Lincoln, Martin, Jordan, Gandhi, Beyonce, Prince, Moses. These are people who have inserted themselves into the history books, who have shifted the atmosphere, right? Everything that the world tells you means something. If the world tells you it means something, it's actually meaningless. And I know for some of you that's a surprise, it's a shock. You're like, nah, I don't agree with that. I disagree with that. We'll agree to disagree. No, I'm telling you, if the world tells you it means something, it is meaningless. By the world, I mean the masses. I mean the collective. I mean the herd, the group, most people, the average. Most people, the world, the masses, the herd, are wrong about everything. From money and finances, that's why most people are broke. If they're not broke, they're living paycheck to paycheck and or are one paycheck away from being homeless, or really are not happy with where they are financially, credit score wise. Your average, the average, their credit is abysmal because they've bought into all of the bullshit about credit and buying shit you don't need to please people who you really don't like, or people who don't give a fuck about you. But you wanna look the part. You wanna drive the car. You wanna appear as though. The masses are wrong about building wealth, about health. That's why most people that you see today, they will die from a lifestyle disease, obesity, diabetes, heart disease, heart attack, stroke, something of that nature. A few, it will be, a car accident or an accident, a collision, something, you couldn't foresee or predict. But for the most part, it's bad habits over time. It's putting too many toxins in your body over time. It's not knowing how to combine your foods. It's eating the wrong shit and being on your ass too much. Can we be real? Because we have to do better in 2019. Just the basics of happiness and serenity. Most people don't know what the hell. They couldn't tell you what serenity and happiness and tranquility looked like if it smacked them in the face. The average, the masses, the group, the herd. And also because the well-traveled road leads to nothing worthwhile. Average performers. The average man or woman, they resign themselves to mediocrity. And they really believe and they really think that the elite are somehow smarter or faster or cut from a different cloth, or it's because she's light-skinned, or it's because he's white, or it's because it's a man. Yes, those things have their place. But you cannot tell me if you don't put in the work ethic and you don't put in the sweat equity, that your time won't come, because it will come. We've seen it happen. And we have to learn to leave people and relationships and situations in our lives better than we found them. If you date someone and you all celebrate Valentine's Day, or you celebrate anniversaries, or you have date night, do some shit that, is groundbreaking. Surprise them, so that even when that relationship ends, they're like, you know what? Shh. He was the bomb. She was just amazing. In any job that you have, leave that station, that position, so much better than you found it. That anybody and everyone who comes after you will have to respect your name. They will have to respect the fact that you were there. Because if we're keeping it a buck, if we're really keeping it 1,000, right? It really doesn't take that much effort, or it doesn't take that much more effort to go the extra mile or to be a little extraordinary. Because the bar is set so low, and any extra is over and beyond. The fact that average is so predominant should serve as a motivating factor. Learn to do all things with purpose. All things. Even when you're just shooting the shit, it has to be with purpose. Because those moments add up too. Believe it or not. The influencers, right? The influencers and viral videos you see on YouTube and Instagram and Snapchat, they make an impact. That's why they have numbers. Although they don't seem to be connected to anything of significance, they have an impact. Someone is called an influencer for a reason. So, Division 1 grind. Starting today. Become the most generous person you know, and watch your life shift vastly. Generous. Financially, with your time, with your compassion, with your love, with your advice. Learn to celebrate the unsung heroes and the underdogs. One thing, and I've gotten away from it over the years because of just obligations and responsibilities. But one thing I always tell people, especially when you're having a hard time and when you're going through any trial or tribulation in your life, start volunteering. Start volunteering. Volunteer. If it's a soup kitchen or feeding the hungry, or go down to your local shelter and volunteer your time. Your local church that does, feed the hungry, or they dole out clothes and jackets in the winter time, or what have you, or volunteering to tutor a kid. You're strong in math, you're strong in business, you're strong in reading and writing. Go down and tutor some kids who are struggling in school. Volunteer your time. Volunteer. If you can't give money, volunteer your time. Volunteer your experience. Volunteer your expertise, because it puts things into perspective. And it makes you realize what matters. It puts things in their proper place. And then you get real grateful for what you do have. And you get really grateful for your experiences and the way things have turned out when you see where other people are on the spectrum. But learn to celebrate the unsung heroes and the underdogs and those who people overlook. The janitors, the waiters, the waitresses, the dishwashers, right? Because oftentimes you'll be the only one who acknowledges them. And that's classy. This is the one thing I love about Serena Williams. She's such a class act that even when she's done beating the brakes off her opponent, she has enough class to salute them and show her respect for them. So today, be the exception. Whatever you are, whatever you call yourself, be the exception, not the rule. If your heart is strong, understand you can accomplish anything. Heart is everything. mindset, the way you think, and your heart. Because your heart is going to push you when you feel like you can't go any further. When I'm talking to those who, yeah, it's a new year, but, you going through some shit, right? And sometimes you sit in the car and you turn the music off and you just gotta, and sometimes you cry, or you cry in the shower, or you just going through some things financially, mentally, in your spirit, in your heart, in your mind, in your life. Shit is just not working out. Understand, your heart is going to pull you through, baby. Your heart is, if you stay strong, you're going to get through it. And one of the principles, what I love about the Shaolin Arts, the warriors, one of the principles of the Shaolin Arts is this: advance like an arrow from a bow. Burn your boats. Do you hear me? Give yourself no choice. Because sometimes, I know for me, when I used to work in corporate America, I used to take on a lot. And even when I was being beat down and discriminated against or what have you, I would just take it. I would just take it, right? But I'm saying to you, sometimes when you get fired from a job or a relationship, goes kaput or whatever, sometimes you have to understand that is what needed. That was the best thing that could have possibly happened for you in your life, because otherwise you wouldn't have walked away. You wouldn't have had the courage to step out on faith. Sometimes life will present you with situations where you are forced to step out on faith. And I'm telling you, this is one of the best things that can happen to you, because it's either sink or swim. It's it's win or lose. It's no participation award. Sometimes, again, when your back is up against the wall, the only thing to do is to really just go balls to the wall, go all in, give it 1,001%. Ironically, this is how you begin to tap in to the D1 grind. That's what separates the spectators from the actual gladiators who make it into the history books. So ask yourself, how will you measure your life today? Starting today. We can't do shit about last year, last week, last month. Today, how will you measure your life? And how do you want to be remembered? It's like boiling water. If you do not keep the flame high with continued training, your skill turns tepid. And so standing, sleeping, awake or asleep, the D1 grind always requires your effort, your practice, your attention, your concentration. You can rest. You're entitled to rest. You're entitled to vacation. You're entitled to breaks. But you never stop. And you have to do all things, remember, again, with purpose. Kobe Bryant, in his documentary, if you can get your hands on this documentary, it's excellent. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Los Angeles Lakers fan, but in his documentary, it's called Muse, the Kobe Bryant documentary. He says, when you make a choice and say, come hell or high water, I am going to be this, then you should be surprised. You shouldn't be surprised when you are that. It should not be something that feels intoxicating or out of character, because you've seen this moment for so long that when that moment comes, of course it's here, because it's been here the whole time, because it's been in your mind the whole time. It's about envisioning it and making it manifest. And he also, ironically, in that same documentary, he talks about his 4 a.m. hustle and grind, and how over time, how that set him apart and how it can set you apart too. So for instance, he said, well, if I'm getting up at 4 a.m. and my competition, they're not getting up till 9 or 10, I've already got up at 4 a.m., got in my workout, got in my strength training, right? Been to the gym, got home, ate breakfast, you can rest, what have you. And then he'll go back in the gym again later on that afternoon or that evening. And so he's trained twice. Over time, his opponent, who's only, stumbling out of the bed at 10 or 11, turned up the night before, drank, whatever, he's going into the gym maybe once a day. Well, over the course of weeks and months and years, he's getting infinitely better, stronger, faster, more efficient, more dialed in than his opponents or his competition. Again, this is a larger metaphor. The way to evolve your results is to document your vision and document your progress. If you don't document your progress, you won't know how far you've come or how close you are to your goals or whatever your personal definition of success is. The more you rewrite your vision for this year and your key, deliverables in your journal or your diary or what have you, the more you'll breathe clarity and fuel passion and galvanize higher ability to execute on them. That's why you write the vision. And so every morning, while the rest of the world is asleep, the masses, the herd, the group, I want you to install the habit of recording what you most want to experience over the next few months. What do you want to look like? What do you want your bank account to look like? What do you want to see? What do you want to drive? Where do you want to live? How do you want to live? What do you want to experience? What would you like to taste? What lands would you like to touch down upon? Hypnotize your subconscious mind to become monomaniacally focused on delivering breathtaking results. You're being hypnotized whether you know it or not. But I'm here to tell you, you can program and hypnotize yourself for what it is you want to see by dialing into that vision. And write the ambitions consistently and relentlessly. And remember, your life can't give you what it doesn't know you want. If you don't know what you want, how can we give it to you? A lot of us, we know exactly what we don't want, but we don't know we don't really know what it's going to look like until we see it. So I hear people say, well, I don't really know exactly, what I want to do, but I know what I don't want to do. I don't know, but I know what I don't want. That's a problem. Because you don't know what you want. Understand that shit never just happens. The road to utter failure and or destruction is paved with red flags and warning signs. Always. You'll never fall off overnight. You'll never get obese overnight. You'll never lose it all in one day. These things happen over time, over decades. Marriages fall apart over years, over time. People lose their edge over time, over months, over weeks, over years. And so also take this home with you. Take this home with you. Tuck this in. You have to learn how to perform using multiple dimensions and aspects of yourself. What does that mean? You never ever want to perform merely on emotion or just gut or just instinct. Not discounting those things. Gut will get you very far. Intuition will get you very far. Or just hunger. You hungry for it. You want it so bad you can taste it, right? Sometimes the first part of your journey you perform with your head, mentally. You get in the game and you stay in the game with your mindset. That's how you establish the groundwork, the ground rules. You lay the foundation with your mindset. And then the middle part, when it starts getting a little hairy, you may need to perform with your personality, your charm, your charisma, your wit, your sense of humor. What makes people love you? What draws people to you beyond your physical appearance? And then, when the going really gets tough and the rubber meets the road, you perform with your heart. You give it all you've got. What is the source of your strength? Sit with that today. What is the source of your strength? The source of your self-esteem. The source of your self-regard. Let that be what motivates you, strengthens you, drives you, and fuels you. 2019, let's get into it. Let's get it. Let's do this. Your time really is now. Tomorrow ain't promised. Thank you for listening. Love and light. Have a wonderful, amazing, spectacular rest of your day. Peace.